I was in Ohio yesterday, and their Republican governor, who, he doesn't agree with me on a lot of stuff, but he agreed that it's a good idea to cut taxes for the middle class. He said this is not a time for partisanship. This is a time to figure out a way in which we can get things moving in this country. He's absolutely right.
Maybe Governor John Kasich supports President Obama's jobs plan because the loss of manufacturing jobs has ravaged his state. The shrinking manufacturing industry in Ohio is in line with the losses on a national level. After 3 decades of steady employment, manufacturing jobs in the United States of America have been disappearing over the past 10 years. The country lost more than a third of its manufacturing jobs from 2000 to 2010 in the last decade. And the situation in Ohio is worse. In the past decade, Ohio has lost nearly 400,000 manufacturing jobs, 6% more than the national average. At least 100,000 of those jobs were lost to China. Ohio cannot rebound from these losses without help. The president knows it. John Kasich knows it, although he won't admit it. And my guest also knows it, and that is Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur of Ohio's 9th District.
Good evening.
Congresswoman, good to have you with us tonight.
It's my privilege.
You have fans here in your district, no doubt. Absolutely. What do you think needs to be done to bring the manufacturing jobs back to Ohio? I drive down the street today here in Toledo. I see empty buildings. It really is gut-wrenching to see it because all of the things that you think about when you do see them. Boarded up buildings. You want to know what was in them. Where are they now? What country did they go to? And what are the people doing? How do we replenish these jobs, Congresswoman?
Well, first of all, Ed, thank you for coming to our community and to our region. And I want to say to Leo Gerard, thank you. Thank you for helping our people tell our story, for magnifying our voice around the country. One of the most important things we can do right now is to support the President's Jobs Act as step number 1. But that's only step number 1. I agree with the guest in the audience who said that we have to renegotiate our trade agreements. Because every year, and I said this to the President, even if we pass his bill and we pay for it, it's paid for, it's nearly about $450 billion, our trade deficit equals about that amount, $500 billion a year, $500 billion. So it offsets any investment we would make in our country. We have to renegotiate these trade agreements so that America's on a level playing field again. And no president in the last 25 years has been willing to do that.
Well, how are you going to do it when you've got such corporate interests in these trade agreements? There's more on the table that are anti-worker. And there's a sense in the Congress that the president's not moving fast enough on it. I mean, you're talking about an awfully heavy lift, are you not?
You're talking about a heavy lift, but I want to tell you the reason I'm proud that you're in Toledo is because Toledo has always been a strong voice for labor rights in our country and around the world. And this has been an historic struggle. It started with our nation, founded in slavery, where it took us hundreds of years to both legally stop it and then to deal with all of its side effects. It wasn't until the 20th century, a century later, we even got labor laws, fair labor standards on the books. Our mother, our father were a part of that era. And now we see many of the elected officials in our state and nationally trying to pick apart the achievements of the 20th century. As we move into the 21st century, what we see happen in the last 25 years is the outsourcing of production, where workers in Mexico, China, are set against our own workers, and they are earning so much less money, so many fewer benefits, and we've got to level that playing field.
Okay, level the playing field with changing the trade agreements, passing the American Jobs Bill that the president's got on the table.
That's right.
Do you think any Republicans will step up and go along? Do you think this bill has a chance?
I think that we have to fight for it. I think that the American people have to speak out. What I like best about the president's speech was he said he was going to take his fight to America. And he's in Columbus, Ohio. He was in Columbus, Ohio. And that's what it's going to take. It's not going to take a few guys getting together over in the White House behind closed doors and reaching a deal. It's going to take the president fighting with us.
How often do you want the president to go out? I mean, the president has been out the president has been out the last 3 days in Ohio and North Carolina. Is this what he has to do, in your opinion? Get out there, and how often should he get out there and take this fight to the people?
That's where he needs to be. He needs to be there as much as he possibly can. He has family to consider, of course, but he has to allow his cabinet people to run the departments, to carry out the will of Congress, to carry out his administration's agenda, and he has to go to the people. He is the most effective spokesperson, as is Vice President Biden. This is a royal
Congresswoman
fight.
Marcy Kaptur, appreciate your time tonight. It certainly is. Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. Rush Limbaugh says liberals are trying to discredit lady talkers by calling them angry white men. I'll let the drugstore and his buddies speak for themselves in Psycho Talk. And how do we get Toledo back to work? That's the question. How do we get America back to work? Clean energy. Leo Gerard will join us again, and we'll hear from the folks in Toledo with their ideas. You're watching The Ed Show on MSNBC. Stay with us.